Five Nights at Treasure Island is a game that was first worked on in 2014 by Art 1996, and after multiple versions, the game was fully completed by the Radiance team in 2021. However, there was one small problem with this game. This game was too dang easy. Sure, it was somewhat terrifying for its time, and is a massive improvement through its once confusing beginnings. However, the gameplay was kind of dry and really easy to deal with. Heck, I even beat the max mode of True Nightmare. First try, randomly doing it because I was bored. However, I watched two videos on a different version of the game. The exact same, except the gameplay seemed drastically better and a lot harder. Welcome to Five Nights at Treasure Island, but done. What even is FNATI BD as it's commonly called? Well, it's very similar to games similar to Five Nights at Candy's, but better, which are games that take an original fan game and rather than focusing on the atmosphere and the horror aspect of the game, they focus on the gameplay, like a lot. It's no exception in FNATI BD. Firstly, they removed power, giving a lot more leeway into how you use the mechanics. Unlike the original FNATI, there is only one keybind, space to stand still. All defenses return to this game, shutting off a camera, standing still, or turning off the lights. However, rather than keybind, to turn off the lights, press the light bulb at the top, and to shut off a camera, press the button next to cam 10. Nights last 7 minutes in this game, and one camera is always shut no matter what. In the settings, there are some options you can mess around with. Try and play with it to suit your preferences. And now, with that being said, we can move on to the characters. There are 15 characters in FNATI BD, 13 of which were originally present in the regular custom night within the original FNATI, with Badum adding both Hourglass, who was originally only present in Night 6, and Mortimer, who was an Easter egg in the original game. The star of the show, Photo Negative Mickey, starts in cam 3, then goes to cam 1 after 11 seconds. Then either chooses to go to cam 2 or cam 6 after 8 seconds. Depending on where he was last, that's the camera you shut off. If you don't remember, don't worry. Once he appears in your office, he can either appear on the left or the right. Once he's on the left, shut off cam 6, and if he's on the right, shut off cam 2. He has an 8-second kill timer and is paused when his camera is shut off. This embodied has 3 stages. One in cam 3, the second is when he looks at you in cam 3, and then in your office. However, he doesn't kill you, but rather disables you turning off the lights and standing still while playing a really loud, obnoxious sound. Shutting off the camera corresponding to the side he's on, and he's gone instantly. Impurity. Oh my god. She starts in cam 3.
Why do I exist?
And then cam 1, to cam 2, to cam 6, then in your office. However, once in your office, congratulations, you die. However, if you shut off the camera she's instantly paused in that camera, making tracking her extremely important. Her attack timer is always 11 seconds, and if her camera is shut off, that timer is paused at 11 seconds. I'm just gonna mesh both Acephalus and Undying since they're both the exact same, except they have different directions. Acephalus starts in cam 5, cam 2, then your office. Undying starts in cam 8, cam 1, then cam 2, and then your office. For Acephalus, you have to stand still fully on the left to get rid of it. For Undying, you have to stand all the way to the right. Both of their kill timers are 8 seconds and are stalled when holding still in general. Oswald is the exact same as them, except you could just stand anywhere. However, he appears after a certain amount of cam flips instead. For his first appearance, he takes around 3 flips to spawn. Afterwards, it's every 2 flips. His kill timer is 6 seconds and is paused like once again if you're standing still. The face starts in cam 9, he has 3 sound cues as he slowly approaches you. Once he appears in your office, you don't need to turn off the lights. He has a 5-second kill timer and is stalled when the lights are off. Once he's in the office, he stalls literally almost everybody, with some exceptions of course. Hourglass retains his mechanic from the original game. If he spawns in cam 3 or 4, shut off a camera. In 5 or 8, stand still. 9, turn off the lights. However, you can only deal with him once he's at your desk. Once he's there, he gives you 6 seconds to deal with him, otherwise he'll just kill you. Mascot Photo Negative Mickey, or is commonly known as MP&M, appears in your office with no audio cue. Flick your cursor from side to side to get rid of him. His attack timer pauses when you're flicking, and his attack timer is around 7 seconds. Mortimer is basically like Rockstar Bonnie in Ultimate Custom Night. Once he spawns, you'll need to find whether his music is playing the loudest. When you do, shut off the camera and you'll His kill timer is easily one of the longest, that takes 24 seconds, and he leaves once his camera is off for around 2 seconds. However, in return for his long kill timer, he is one of the few threats that is not stalled by the face. Classic photo-negative Mickey is the exact same as PNM. However, once he spawns once and then appears in your office. He could spawn in camps 3, 1, 2, or 6. He's basically here to test your memory, because unlike PNM, he has no cue of where he came from in your office, so you need to remember where he last was. In return, he leaves once his camera is off for 1 second, and has the same kill timer as PNM, with 8 seconds. Classic the face is basically pull up your camera once he's there, as he only appears after camera flips. His kill timer is around 3 seconds and stalls the office characters and both PNMs. Pete is invisible in the cameras and can be seen from a red dot on the camera he's in. Stare at that camera for 1 second to make him go away. His kill timer is 20 seconds, and once again, it's stalled when you're looking at him. Willy is basically Phantom BB from FNAF 3 if he can kill you. He has 3 phases: normal, no eyes, and human eyes. If you stare at him for too long in the human eyes phase, he'll kill you. He can even appear when the camera is on is shut off, but changes phases after 1 second of looking at him. Sparky is the last character. He barks when he's in your office, and when he does, you'll need to turn off the light and stand still. Once he leaves, you must shut off any camera, and he gives you 11.5 seconds for both phases. And now that's all the characters. Now I'll explain stalling and how the office cycle works. Stalling is a beautiful mechanic. This mainly occurs since some characters' mechanics take priority of the over others. For instance, the face is by far your best friend when it comes to stalling. He stalls literally everybody, with the exception of Mortimer or Pete. The classic face is also a decent staller, since he stalls the office cycle and both the Mickeys. Speaking of the office cycle consists of 4 characters and 5 phases. Once you hear an undying sound cue, drop the cameras, shake goes to right for MPNM, stand still on the right for undying, lights off, stand still for both the subjects and Sparky, then shut off the camera. If you do this all the time, correct order, they will always sync up no matter what. And it will always repeat over and over again. Nightmare at Disney is the first max mode of this game, and is instantly more difficult than the other challenges combined. However, it is still by far one of the easier max modes of this game, due to how consistent it is to understand. You could probably see P&M being the only real reason you will probably lose runs, due to how important memorization is for him. Despite this, once you learn the office cycle, and with good enough practice, you'll be able to beat the first max mode of this game, Nightmare at Disney. After completing NAD, you have 2 routes to go on depending on your preference. You can either move on to SM, or you can move on to Silent Nightmare at Disney, which is much more difficult than NAD, because although FNATI plays the exact same as it most of the time, it still places 60 spots higher thanks to what Silent Mode actually does. Silent Mode does 2 things. 1. It turns on a power mechanic. Upon loading into the night, a camera starts with a green dot. This green dot is how you start to lose power. The more you leave that camera on, the more power it'll begin to drain. To prevent any sort of power loss, shutting off that camera will instantly make the green dot change cameras and automatically reset the amount of power being drained. And 2. The characters receive a buff. This buff occurs after every hour when the silent effect takes place. During this, 3 characters get randomly buffed, and depending on your settings, you can either see hallucinations, hear voice lines, or get both of them, displaying which characters were buffed. The effect lasts for 30 seconds, and the buff ends when the character's attack timer ends. At 5 AM, one by one, each character will get buffed until all characters are buffed, making the final hour a lot harder than the previous 4. Now onto each character's buff. Photo-negative Mickey now requires you to stand still as this camera is turned off. In return, he leaves in 0.5 seconds rather than the usual 2. Disembodied now needs 0.5 seconds for his camera to be shut off for him to leave. Impurity will now shut off another random camera after 2 seconds. This buff is situational, as some characters like The PNMs, or Hourglass, may need her camera shut off, and therefore this buff won't take place until their attack timers end. Acephalus and Undying are now a lot more strict when it comes to the threshold of holding still on their side, now making you stand fully on the left and right respectively. Oswald can now appear while you're in the cameras. The face will kill you if the lights are not off before he enters. It says he won't leave, but this just means his kill timer is no longer stalled when the lights are off after he enters. If you turn on the lights as he's in the office, he also will kill you. Hourglass moves to another camera before entering your office. MPNM will never leave, but flicking your cursor will reset his kill timer back to 7 seconds. Mortimer now takes a lot longer to reset as his kill timer refills instead of waiting for a certain amount of time. CPNM can now appear in every camera. Classic the Face now requires you to have the cameras up for 0.3 seconds, otherwise his kill timer resets. Pete moves cameras after every 1.5 seconds if you are not looking at his camera. Willie can now appear in all cameras at once. Sparky will make an audio cue depending on what side he's on. Shut off a camera on that side and then the opposite one. Silent Nightmare at Disney is an overall interesting experience. I'd say somewhat enjoyable at times, especially when you get the satisfaction of adapting to each character's buff. I'd honestly watch out for the following buffs, however. These buffs include Impurity, the Face, CPNM, MPNM, and Oswald. Impurity's camera shutoffs are not as bad as in SSM, but still quite annoying in SNAT. Make sure to shut her off her camera sometimes. The Face is also quite the killer for many, as he requires the lights off before he enters, making tracking his audio use 10 times more important. Now that CPNM can appear in all 10 cameras, it's best to track him as fast as possible. MPNM's buff can get you if you aren't paying attention to him, but he's relatively easy in SNAT, and make sure to pay attention to Oswald's Q, otherwise he might get you without you even noticing. Otherwise, once with good enough practice and really good adaptability, you'll beat Silent Nightmare at Disney, no problem.